Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be finding the value of each expression. Let's look at these examples here. This expression here, notice that these negatives here are going to turn to positive. So your final answer here is just going to be 3. This is the same here. These negatives are going to turn positive. So your final answer here is just going to be 10. The same thing here. These two negatives are going to be positive, so your final answer here is just going to be pi as your answer. And the same for this fraction here. These two negatives are going to turn positive, so your final answer here is just going to be 1/2. And these are your answers here for each of these expressions. What if you had an expression, the absolute value of -25? Your answer here, your final answer here is just going to be 25 as your answer. What about the absolute value of 0? What is your answer going to be here? And your answer here for this expression is also just going to be 0 as your answer. What if you had -8 plus -3? So how do we find the value for this expression here? So this is going to be -8 minus 3 because of my positive and negative here. So this is going to turn into a negative. Now we have -8 minus 3. This is going to equal -11. So your final answer here for this expression is -11. -12 plus -3. This is going to be -12 minus 3. So we have -12 minus 3 because of our plus and minus here. So we have -12 minus 3. This is going to equal -15. So your final answer here is -15. Remember for this here, we are adding the 12 plus the 3. However, my sign is still going to be negative. -5 plus -2. So this is going to be -5 minus 2. You're going to add 5 plus 2. That's going to give you 7. But your sign is still going to remain the same. So your final answer here is -7. -9 plus 7. So we are going to subtract 9 minus 7. This is going to be 2. But I'm going to take the sign for my negative because my 9 here is larger than the 7. So I need to take the sign of the larger number for this example here. -6 plus 3, this is going to equal a -3 as my final answer. Remember, we are subtracting 6 minus 3 is going to be 3, but because my 6 here is larger, I need to use the sign for my -6, which is what we have here. So -6 plus 3 is going to equal -3. -12 plus 3, -12 plus 3 as your answer here is going to be a -9. Remember, 12 minus 3 is going to equal 9, but I'm going to take the sign of my larger number, which is negative. So -12 plus 3 is going to give you -9. -4 plus 1, this is going to equal -3 as your answer. We subtracted 4 minus 1, that's going to give me 3, and then I'm going to take the sign for the larger number here, which is 4. So -4 plus 1 is going to be -3. What about 1 plus -3? So this here, you're going to get 1 minus 3, and then I'm going to subtract. So we subtract 1 minus 3. This is going to be 2, but what kind of 2 is it going to be? It's going to be a -2. So your final answer here is -2. -8 plus -2. So your answer here is going to be -8 minus 2. Because we have our positive and negative here, that's going to be a negative. And then I'm going to add. So 8 plus 2, this is going to equal 10. However, I'm going to keep the negative signs in my answer. So your final answer here is going to be -10. What if you had 0.5 plus -5? So for this example here, 0.5, it's going to be 0.5 minus 5. And by looking at this example here, 0.5 minus 5 is going to give us a negative 4.5 as our answer. And let's say you were trying to solve this without a calculator. So 0 minus 0 is going to be 0. 0 minus 5, I can't do that. So I'm going to borrow. This side is going to become a 4. And then this side here is going to become 10. So 10 minus 5 is going to be 5. And then you're going to bring your decimal down. And then 4 minus 0 is going to be 4. So your final answer is 4.50, which is what we have here as our answer. Just remember, this is going to be negative. So negative 4.5. What about 8.3 plus negative 1.6? This example here, you're going to get 8.3 minus 1.6. And when you subtract 8.3 minus 1.6, your final answer here is going to be a positive 6.7. And this is your final answer here. Because remember, your 1.6 is negative, but your 8.3 is positive. So I'm going to get the sign of the larger number. So yes, we are subtracting, but you are going to take the sign of your larger number. So let's say you were to solve this out, minus 1.6. So 3 minus 6, you are not able to do that. So I'm going to borrow. This side is going to become 7. This side here is going to become 13. 13 minus 6 is going to be 7. You're going to bring those decimal down, and then 7 minus 1 is going to be 6. So your final answer here is 6.7, which is what we have here. 9 minus negative 7, this expression here, because I have two negatives, these are going to become positive. So it's going to be 9 plus 7. And your final answer here is going to be 16. Negative 4 minus negative 7. This example here, these two negatives are going to become a positive. So you have negative 4 plus 7, and you're going to subtract 7 minus 4. This is going to be 3, but it's also going to be a positive 3 because I'm taking the sign of my larger number, which is 7. So your final answer here is going to be a positive 3. What if you had something like this? 4 minus 6 minus 11, and then minus 12. Let's look at this example here. So I'm going to first work inside my parentheses. So you're going to get 4 minus 6 minus 11. This is going to give us a negative 5 inside the parentheses. And then you're going to get minus 12. Remember here, this is negative 5. And now we're going to continue solving. So these two negatives are going to turn positive. So we have 4 plus 5 minus 12. 4 plus 5, this is going to be 9 minus 12. And 9 minus 12, this is going to equal a negative 3. So your final answer here is negative 3. What about negative 5 minus negative 12? So let's look at this example. Notice here that your two negatives are going to turn to positive. So you have negative 5 plus 12. And notice here that yes, you will be subtracting. Negative 5 plus 12 is going to be 7. So your final answer here is 7. Remember, you are going to keep the sign of the bigger number. So your bigger number here is 12. So negative 5 plus 12 is going to be 7. Let's look at this example here. We have 4.82 minus negative 6.19 minus 8.35. So first thing I notice here is that these two negatives are going to turn positive. So I'm going to get 4.82 plus 6.19 minus 8.35. Because we have addition and subtraction here, I'm going to go from left to right. So we're going to do 4.82 plus 6.19. 2 plus 9 is going to be 11. Bring down the 1, carry the other 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Bring down a 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 6 is 11. So you're going to get 11. You're going to bring this decimal down here. 11.01. So 11.01 minus 8.35. 2.35. And when you subtract these two, you're going to get a positive 2.66 as your answer. So your final answer here is 2.66. But let's go ahead and write everything out so you can see. So if you were to solve it like this, 1 minus 5, you are not able to do that. Then I'm going to go borrow here for my 0. I still can't borrow because it's 0. So I'm going to go down here to my ones place. So this is going to become 0. This is going to become a 10. But if I look at my problem, I am still stuck right here. So that means I'm going to go back to borrow. This 10 is now going to become a 9. And this one here is going to become 11. So 11 minus 5 is going to be 6. 9 minus 3, this is also going to be 6. Make sure you bring that decimal down. And then here, notice you have 0 minus 8. I can't do that, so I'm going to borrow. This is going to become a 0, and this 0 here is going to become a 10. So 10 minus 8 is going to be 2, and then 0 minus your imaginary 0 here is going to be 0. So the final answer is 2.66, which is what we have here. Negative 10 minus negative 17. These two negatives are going to be positive, so you have negative 10 plus 17. So negative 10 plus 17, their final answer here is going to be a positive 7. And remember, yes, you are subtracting 17 minus 10, which is going to be 7. And I'm going to keep the sign from the larger value here, which is going to be my 17. So that's why you have a positive 7 here. 14 minus 8. This example here, 14 minus 8 is going to give you a positive 6. So your final answer here is 6. Negative 6 plus 4. Look at this example here. Negative 6 plus 4. This is going to equal a negative 2. Remember, I'm going to subtract 6 minus 4. This is going to be 2. But I'm going to take the sign of the greater numbers. So you need to make sure you include the negative in your answer. So negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. Negative 6 plus negative 3. This is going to equal negative 6 minus 3. And this is going to equal negative 9 as your answer. You're going to add 6 plus 3 is 9. But then you're also going to keep the negative sign. So negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. 4 plus negative 1. This is going to equal 4 minus 1, and 4 minus 1 is going to equal 3. So your final answer here is a positive 3. Let's look at this example here, negative 4.5 plus 1. So we have negative 4.5 plus 1. This is going to equal a negative 3.5 as our answer. So your final answer here is negative 3.5. However, if you were to write this out, so 4.5 minus 1, 5 minus 0 is 5. You're going to bring your decimal down here, and then you have 4 minus 1. This is going to be 3. So your answer here is 3.5. However, do not forget to include your negative. So it's negative 3.5. Negative 1 plus 1.5. And for this example, yes, guys, you will need to subtract here. So you have 1.5 minus 1. This is going to equal 5 minus 0 is going to be 5. You're going to bring your decimal down. And then 1 minus 1 is going to be 0. So your final answer here in this example is going to be 0.5 as your answer. Negative 4.5 plus negative 1.5. So let's look at this example here. So we're going to do negative 4.5 minus 1.5. So by looking at this example here, I'm going to add. However, even though I add, I still need to keep my negative in my answer. So you have 4.5 plus 1.5. 5 plus 5 is 10. Bring the 0 down, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 1 is going to be 6. So you're going to have 6 here. Don't forget your 0, which is right here. So 4.5 plus 1.5, you're going to get a negative 6.0 as your answer. What about if you have 8 plus negative 2? By looking at this example, you're going to get 8 minus 2, and 8 minus 2 is going to be a positive 6. So your final answer here is 6. And what if you had something like this? Notice here, these two negatives are going to turn positive. So you're going to get the absolute value of 2. And your final answer here is just going to be 2. All right, so that is all for today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.